hanging the lights.
Well, how's everybody doing so far? Good. Are we ready to get started again? As I said earlier, my name is Brandon from the Machine Radio Show. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out once again, and I'd like to thank the Illinois Family Institute for giving us a hand this year as a sponsor. We truly need that. You know, there was something that I was thinking about that my new friend, Mr. Sexton, there had mentioned. We were talking about communism. I never thought I would see a day in this country where it looks as if there's actually a big enough collection of people that are wanting to turn this into a communist state. Now, being a historian, I really despise that actually in a way, because I've learned a lot about it over the years, especially through Mao Zedong and Stalin and several others. And why on earth would we want a system that would turn all of us into basically serfs to the government? Why would we want that? Why would we not want to have the freedom that we have to choose and do what we want to do? Why would we want to go that direction? I tried having this conversation with a couple of them, and as soon as you start bringing up anything about history, they said, well, it just hasn't been implemented correctly. Like Soviet Union, all these failures throughout hundreds of years, especially in the 20th century, and the millions that were killed, that wasn't enough for you. You don't think that was a good enough trial? And bringing that up, it makes me think about how they like to call us now. I never thought I'd see a day that constitutional conservatives and libertarians would be labeled as fascists. The one group of people that wants the government to leave them alone is the one that's being called the totalitarian. Can anybody explain to me exactly how that works? Anybody have an idea? Because I'm truly at a loss myself.
We're a threat?
Right.
No, we're a threat to their agenda.
I know. Well, obviously we are. I mean, what do they call us nowadays? Terrorists. Especially exactly, domestic terrorists. Especially someone like, I don't know, like the Oath Keepers maybe? Yeah. They're vilifying them in the news constantly, aren't they? Well, hold on one second. If they want to see a domestic terrorist, I'm standing right here. I've been an Oath Keeper since 2013. Not once have I ever seen any of my guys do anything that they are claiming that we do on a daily basis. All of us are former law enforcement, former military, EMS. We're just patriots. We love this country and we want to protect it. And we've been known to help law enforcement. So why on earth, again, would they label somebody? It's because we are the opposition, and like Brandon said, we are the threats. Because we want to stick with the Constitution. We want to stick with our way of life. We want this to be as the way it was meant to be, the country of freedom. But we're slipping, and we're letting them. There's so many people now that are they're too afraid to stand up. They're too afraid to get their voices out there. They're too afraid to show their faces. This shouldn't be. Nobody should be afraid to be proud of this country. Nobody should be afraid to say, we want to be left alone. We want this freedom. This is what the founders had in store for us, and we want to keep it this way.
Right.
I'm telling you people, I just don't understand. I don't understand how I understand how it started and when it started, but I don't understand how we allow it to keep going the way we have. And that's why, I said this in another speech, and I'll say it here. I don't care if we have a large crowd, if we have a small crowd. I know who's here. I know who's got our back. And I know who's going to stand and fight for whatever no matter what we have to do. Be it the ballot box or standing in there and letting them know that we are still here. Does anybody feel any differently in this room?
No, sir.
Nope.
Well, that being said, I'm going to pass over here. I'm going to let, I believe, Linda.
Yes,
I believe that is you.
that's me.
I believe it's your turn.
Give the cameras 4 minutes and ready.
Outstanding, thank you. Thank you.
Say if you feel comfortable.
Okay. I'm Linda Andreas. I'm running for county clerk for Madison County, Illinois. I'm a grandma who said, what the heck is going on? And I ain't letting my kids, even though they got their heads buried, get harmed, okay? My kids don't talk to me. They don't like my politics. They don't like my husband's politics. That's too bad. So I haven't seen my kids for almost 2 years. And it's been rough. But I know this is going to end. I know this is going to end, and I know it's going to be good. Let me tell you a little bit about myself besides being a grandma. I was a military wife, Army wife for 21 years. And those of you who know anything about military, the wives definitely pull some duty. Before that, I did a couple of years as a Navy wife. I'm really proud of our forces. I'm so proud of what each one of us here today is, because whether you've been served or whether you have not, you're serving now. Because we are soldiers in a battle. This is the battle of history. Never before in our history have we seen what's taking place. We may have seen shadows of it over time. This week we saw the monarchy change. A lot of people, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of stuff about talking about the Queen. Whatever you think or whatever you believe is somewhat irrelevant. What's relevant to me is that that monarchy has withstood centuries and centuries and centuries and thousands of years, because that particular monarchy, for those of you who understand, that lineage goes back to King David. And those prophecies that brought King David and King Solomon go back to Moses and Isaac and Jacob. Judah. That throne comes from Judah. So I'm going to tell you something. Charles is king right now. But he wants to destroy this monarchy. We saw all of our monarchies, most of them a lot of them in my lifetime and a little before that, have been destroyed. Of course, we're not a monarchy, they're trying to destroy us. But that one withstood, and this one withstood too. But I would like to tell you that the one person left who has a rightful heir to that throne would be Jesus Christ, because he is from the line of Judah. So I just want you to think about that. Because Peter says in the scriptures, and I'm kind of a preachy lady, okay? Peter said in the scriptures, remember this one thing, and I can't tell you the quote, but you can find it, it's in your Bible. Peter said, remember this one thing, a day is as 1,000 years. So if Bible history goes 1,000 years, guess where we are? We're at midnight, at the end of the 6th hour. And if 6,000 years, if the day is as 1,000 years, think about the creation. You got 6 days, right? And on the 7th day, it was rest. Scripturally, the 7th day is where we enter into that. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we live at a very exciting time. I know it's hard, I get discouraged, I have my days, but going out door knocking and talking to people encourages me so much. So I just want to touch base on that. I want to thank Ray Lynn. I think she's an amazing patriot. She's given so much of her time and her energy, and I've only known her a short amount of time. So I hope you all gave her a big hand, because I got here late. So I just want to thank Ray Lynn for all this work, for doing the stuff, because I know it's stressful. And even though you probably wanted, a Trump rally here today, we know that God works with small groups of people. He always has. So we can be happy with that. I want to show a couple things that I have going on down in Illinois, down in Madison County. Tomorrow I have my fundraiser. We've had, I don't know if you've had them in your counties, but we've had the drag queen story hours. How many have had that in your counties? Anybody else? Wow. What county?
Macon County.
Macon?
Macon County's having an entire fest.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Why
think I saw that
are
this
women,
morning.
this is like an assault on women.
Yeah. Talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Well, the sad part about it is the sad part about it is some of the sponsors for it, Caterpillar Company,
Memorial Health.
Memorial Health,
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise
the
me.
Holiday Inn and Conference Center. And here's the real kicker in all of it. They have their format for their times of what they're doing, and I think it's at 12:45 they're having a youth drag show. And this is at Fairview Park in Decatur. Yes.
It's pretty disgusting.
Yes.
So I decided to do things twofold, okay? I know a lot of the other candidates, they have their meet and greets, and they probably make more money than I do, but you know what? I have to do twofold. I have to have other purpose. So I'm sponsoring for my fundraiser a story hour. And I actually have a friend that he's not only is a pastor, but he's AKA Professor Toto. So he's an amazing teacher, preacher, and he wrote a children's book. That's America 101. He's going to be reading that tomorrow at Willoughby Farms in Collinsville. And each child that comes will get a signed book from him. And it's I should have brought it on really to look at it. It's a wonderful book. And it was illustrated by Mr. Heron. I don't know if anybody knows who Mr. Heron is, but Mr. Heron, he's an illustrator who's run the gamut from McDonald's Happy Meal boxes all the way to, he did all of Rush Limbaugh's children's literature and the Limbaugh letter. So if you ever got a Limbaugh letter, that was the artist, Mr. Heron, capital M, capital R. So if you see that, it's not a typo. The other thing that I want to show you that I've been passing around in my little bags that I leave at people's doors, and I know you all know about Amendment 1. Do you all? Y'all know, who doesn't know about Amendment 1? Or who does know about Amendment 1? Okay. This is horrible. This is horrible. As far as I'm concerned, it's more important than any candidate on the ballot, Democrat or Republican. Because if this passes, this is the nail in the coffin, I do believe. So I went ahead and made little flyers because nobody in our county was doing this and nobody knew about it. So I was like, okay, that would be my job. That's the way I figure it. Nobody else is doing it. That's my new job. So if you want copies of these, I did bring some extra ones. I did put a QR code on the bottom. Why you need to vote no to Amendment 1, there's just 3 points on here out of 9 that'll take, this QR will take you to a study guide that shows you the 9 points, and then you can click on each point and it will give you a better description of it. And that actually is through IllinoisPolicy.org. But we're an area that has a lot of unions. We got the steel workers, but the state of Illinois, as you know, is full of government workers and teachers unions that are not taking care of our children the way they want, and they're also going to be giving themselves increases, and those increases are going to be paid out of our property taxes. So when you go out there and look at this, you can see, 'cause you have to go out and look. This is just to pique your interest, okay? But I do think everybody should know this, and everybody should encourage people to vote no. And you know how on the ballot, they take things and turn the verbiage so you're like, is that a no? I was like, yes. Okay? So I have copies, I'll leave some here if somebody wants to take them, and you can make your own copies if you have a machine. Okay. So this is something I did to a group a couple weeks ago, and I decided I wanted to share it this morning. And like I said, I'm like, remember Saturday Night Live Church lady? I kind of liked her. Saturday Night Live is horrible now, though. I'm not interested. I'm hardly interested in anything anymore other than, trying to rescue our country. We've got our flag hanging upside down out front. I know the UPS guy's like, well, we're in distress. So this is what I'd like to say to you today as well. So we are nearing a precipice. May I add, I think we're at the precipice, as are all nations of this earth. We are in that last day before that great Sabbath, that great rest day that I just mentioned. And again, I'll say, if a day is as 1,000 years, as Peter stated, then we are at the end of the 6th day. And how long is this day going to last? Great empires have risen and fallen. Greece, Rome, Persia, Assyria, Babylon. Noah and his family were rescued from tainted and evil humanity. Abraham prayed that for even one righteous person, Sodom and Gomorrah could be spared. Unwilling, Jonah's message tipped the scale to Nineveh's repentance. The prophets of the past told of all these cataclysmic, earth-changing events. They told of kings and princes, both heavenly and earthly, that would turn the tide. Joseph, Moses, Darius, Cyrus, Nebuchadnezzar, and others. And may I also add that I truly believe that Trump is coming back.
Oh, yeah.
I believe the Lord's hand is on that man, whether he wants it or not. The Hebrews thrived in Egypt because of Joseph. Because of Joseph. If you know that story. They thrived in Egypt because of him for hundreds of years, until evil crept in to destroy them. And what happened was, it didn't just creep in. I need to change that. Because they lived under Egyptian rule all those years, they went in as Hebrews. They didn't have the law of Moses yet, but they lived. They were God's people. But they got tainted by the society. See that relation? We did too. We did too. Our prayers were all messed up until we got woke up. They withstood bondage for many years until Moses walked away from the corrupted system and his high rank to become a shepherd. So he left that royalty and became a shepherd who eventually led them out. So my friend, what I'd like to say, it appears that we are at a Red Sea moment. I believe it is at the door. The Hebrews complained and they found fault with Moses. Even while they were waiting for the Red Sea to part, they're like, why'd you bring us out here? It's kind of like social media stuff. Don't do anything, but we know the real story, so that's where we need to hang on and keep our faith strong, right? So the Hebrews complained and they found fault with Moses despite his prophetic words that manifested in the 10 plagues and the release from their bondage. They were never bothered by those plagues. We all know the story, whether you believe it or not. It's really not my point today. I do believe it, and there is so much more that can be extrapolated from this historical event that I would really love to touch on. I could go on all day, but I won't do that. But the point is, Yahweh, I call our God Yahweh, uses men, women, people, you and me, to move his purposes forward. We are his soldiers. We are his hands, his feet. Many speak to me about Trump and voting. the elections. Some just love Trump, and they